Breakdown of the 12th tradition of alcoholics. Anonymous. Anonymity. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, reminding us always to place principles before personalities. Anonymity is the character or condition of being anonymous, that is, that the identity of a person or entity is unknown. This can be simply because their identity has not been requested, as in an occasional meeting between strangers, or because the person cannot or does not want to reveal their identity. This is said within the AA community that it is a sacrifice that each of us makes for the good of the community, but how true is this really? We know that in Alcoholics Anonymous, it is not the personalities that have recovered through our program that speak, but all the facts that the entire community has demonstrated together, that this program has saved thousands of lives. Here is a great controversy. Here is a great controversy that has arisen with the new era of social media, as there are always people who go from one extreme to the other without glimpsing a middle ground where we could all get along. The need of alcoholics to grow, to believe, or that everything is black, or that everything is white, without realizing that they're all shades of gray and thousands of colors, which an egocentric by nature will not allow other types of ideology to enter, and their thinking is very rigid. There is the opinion that breaking anonymity on social media is something that will make all AA disappear, and rather it is the fear and ignorance that many AA members have of social media, since well-executed work can be done while respecting this tradition of anonymity. But there is reluctance and much positivity for the companions who propose new ideas. There is also the individual who goes to the other extreme, who believes that breaking anonymity by exposing our deficiencies and speaking with words that are not appropriate for the general public is the most beneficial for others. Let us remember that this type of videos can be seen by family members, professionals, and people who are unaware of AA, and this can cause certain prejudice and misinformation when perhaps, if anonymity is to be broken, at least good information about what AA is should be provided and have the total intention of helping those who continue to suffer from these types of problems. Anonymity in our AA community did not arise from trust. It was born from our fears. Our first groups of alcoholics had no name. They were secret societies. The new ones could only find us through a few trusted friends. The mere hint of publicity, even of our work, makes us, although we were no longer drinkers, still believe that we had to hide from the distrust and contempt of the public. When the Blue Book was published in 1939, we included this revealing statement in its prologue. It is important that we remain anonymous because, at present, we are very few to attend to the large number of applicants that may result from this. Being the majority of business people or professionals, we could not do our job well in such an eventuality. It can be easily read between these lines our fear of a large influx of new people that could cause a break in anonymity of immense proportion. As the community of Alcoholics Anonymous grew, problems regarding this tradition did arise, since in the euphoria of the recovering alcoholics, in the eagerness to transmit the message, they were breaking the anonymity of their fellow group members with the intention of encouraging them to attend the group. However, this, far from causing a good effect, had disastrous and bad results, as the delicate life situations shared by the alcoholics began to be exposed to society. This created great discontent and distrust among the members themselves, as there was no trust to discuss their real problems for fear that something would be said outside the group. There is no more serious harm that a spiritual entity like a group can suffer than the breaking of the anonymity of one of our companions, since not only is the survival of the person whose anonymity is being broken at risk, but that of the entire group as a whole. Anonymity is a spiritual aspect that definitively unites a group, and that, when broken by the unconsciousness, ignorance, and in some cases the indifference of several companions, begins the struggle and fighting within the groups. For this reason, every name is confidential to us. In Alcoholics Anonymous, we do not keep any type of clinical history, contact file, as this would violate their identity, and what really interests us is that the person stops suffering and consuming. However, some beginner alcoholics, with their typical intemperance, did not care at all about confidentiality. They wanted to proclaim to the four winds that they were members of AA, and so they did. The barely detoxified alcoholics were running around excitedly, engaging anyone who would listen to them tell their stories. Others rushed to place themselves in front of microphones and cameras. Sometimes they got drunk loudly, putting their groups in a great predicament. They went from being members of AAA to being braggarts of AAA. Here's a question that could get us out of the confusion we were involved in. To what extent should an AA member be anonymous? On one hand, we know that remaining completely anonymous could also cause confusion in society, as it would be thought that we would be some kind of religious sect hiding from all kinds of questioning. And, on the other hand, there is always the latent danger of becoming a circus if we do not pay attention to the principle. It was logical that none of these extremes would benefit us in any way. Usually the newcomer wants their family to know immediately what they are trying to do. They also want to tell others who have tried to help them, their doctor, their spiritual counselor, and their close friends. As he gained confidence, he felt it appropriate to explain his new way of living to his boss and colleagues. When the opportunity to help presented itself, it was easy for him to talk about Alcoholics Anonymous to almost anyone. These private revelations helped him lose the fear of the stigma of alcoholism, and thus spread the news of the existence of Alcoholics Anonymous in his community. Many newcomers have come to Alcoholics Anonymous as a result of such conversations. Although these exchanges are not strictly guided by the literal sense of anonymity, they do align with the spirit of the principle. In addition to that, we have realized that this method is insufficient to reach alcoholics who are still suffering, for which the Alcoholics Anonymous program would need to be made public, starting with information meetings that were open to people so that they would be aware of what Alcoholics Anonymous was doing. This vision brought us several prospects and various business, professional, and religious entities that looked at us with curiosity and mystique, genuinely wondering what it was that we did and whether our recovery program really worked. Even this type of company or entities close to Alcoholics Anonymous that wanted to cooperate with us had great results, as they were indeed verifying with their own eyes what the recovery program was about. Soon, we had our first approaches with the media to amplify the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. As a result of the articles about us published in the Cleveland Plain Dealer, the number of members in this city went overnight from a few to several hundred. The chronicles that appeared in the press about the dinner that Mr. Rockefeller gave for alcoholics. Anonymous contributed to doubling the number of members within a year. The famous article by Jacques Alexander in the Saturn Light Everyday Post turned Alcoholics Anonymous into a national institution. Tributes like these provided us with other opportunities to make ourselves known. More newspapers and magazines wanted to publish reports about Alcoholics Anonymous. Some film companies wanted to sign us. The radio and later television were hounding us with requests for interviews that we had to do. This was a double-edged sword, which could harm us in an irreversible way, since facing these media there were fears, such as the possibility that the person who faced the media would start drinking again, and in that case, the credibility of Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole would be tarnished, and in that regard, we could not hesitate at those moments, as our society would collapse in a matter of months. We simply could not expose ourselves to the risk of some self-appointed members presenting themselves as messiahs or spokespersons to the general public. Our promotional instincts could be our downfall. In this case, the principles would have to take precedence over personalities without any exception. These experiences taught us that anonymity is nothing but an authentic humility of action. It is a spiritual quality that today characterizes all aspects of the double life everywhere. Encouraged by the spirit of anonymity, we strive to abandon our natural inclination to distinguish ourselves personally as members of AA, both among our alcoholic peers and before the general public. By setting aside these eminently human aspirations, we believe that each of us participates in weaving a protective mantle that covers our entire society and under which we can develop and work in unity. We are convinced that the humility expressed by anonymity is the greatest protection that Alcoholics Anonymous can ever have. And like any type of pain from growth, today we live in a new era in which technological development is advancing, and it is still unknown what path it will take. What is a great truth is that we cannot remain stagnant as a community, thinking that the ideas from more than 85 years ago are viable to this day. I believe that while it has survived in our AA society, we have neglected our own arcs of sobriety, where members of the AA community have broken their anonymity at a public level, perhaps not because of their way of drinking, but because of living with their dishonesty and perversions, and people do not take long to point it out. What good is it to go to the group if you live worse? People begin to think that this is not useful, not so much because anonymity is broken or not, but because today, despite being in a group, one continues to be the same or worse than when drinking. Without consuming, we have fallen into complacency. No one has the absolute truth. Let us allow time and God, through His guides, to show us the path we must follow. May God bless us until then. May God bless the crazy ones. This has been all for today. We invite you to subscribe to the channel, to leave us in the comments box what you thought of this video, and to give us a suggestion. Remember that your comment is very important to us. We will read it and comment on it. God bless you. Happy 24 hours, and until next time. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this Alcoholics Anonymous audiobook. We hope these words have brought you reflection strength, and hope on your journey. Remember, recovery is a path we walk one day at a time, and no one has to walk it alone. If this audiobook meant something to you, please support the channel by subscribing so you can receive more content like this. Don't forget to give this video a like and share it with someone who might need to hear this message today. Your support helps carry this message of hope to others who are still suffering. Thank you for listening, and keep coming back.